Hello, everyone. I hope everybody is keeping well. My name is Andy, and you are very welcome to this historic special edition of Chess Please. So, for those of you that are new to the channel, normally what I would do is I play some live games of chess, Chess Please, if you please, in the like 13 to 1400 range. So, again, absolutely bang average chess, blunder-filled games, mistakes abounding, everything like that. We win some, we lose some, try to do a little better each time and have some fun along the way. Today isn't going to be about that. Today is going to be about pure perfection. I want to show you, I want to relive one of my games, which in no uncertain terms is the greatest game of chess that's ever been played. Um, it far surpasses anything that Magnus Carlsen can put together, Garry Kasparov, Bobby Fischer, anyone, any of the greats in their prime. Not because of the quality of the chess, and I want to stress that, which will become so apparent as soon as we start playing. The quality of the chess is very low. It's exactly why I'm still in the 1300 rating bracket. I think I make five. Engine says I make five blunders at least, several inaccuracies. Don't even play the opening right. It's not about that because despite my very mortal play, the chess gods gifted me with a weapon so powerful and so unstoppable um, in its force and in its girth that I simply had to win. And that is, of course, the pawn Willy. The pawn Willy is a very interesting position that I got myself into. Um, Live in a game, didn't plan it, didn't plan it ahead until maybe a couple of moves when I saw it. And it actually ended up being an incredibly strong position. And I wanted to walk through as it happened live, the miracle on digital wood, as it's become known. Posted it up in a couple of chess subreddits. Shout out Anarchy Chess. Don't forget where you came from. And also mentioned it on my stream a couple of weeks ago, and there was a bit of interest in it. So I wanted to walk through how such a divine moment can happen in such banal circumstances. So let's jump right in. We're going to be doing this analysis view. There's no chat, obviously. It's just me here. But I'll walk through, and again, just kind of talk you through why I made certain moves and why I shouldn't have made them in retrospect. But honestly, for this game, I'm so glad of every blunder that I made because it brought about such a phenomenal position. So let's jump right in. I have walked through this game once since then. Obviously, it was just in shock and awe. So I didn't really take it in. So some of this is going to actually be new to me. But as we're running through it, um, we'll see kind of just some motifs appear, and then of course we will see how the pawn Willy itself was formed. So crack off. It was a e4 game, and I played the traditional Sicilian line, so c5, just a response there. Um, there is a pretty common sort of thinking amongst people who are good at chess that people at my level shouldn't play the Sicilian defense, which is this c5 opening or c5 pawn, um, followed by a number of generally developing this knight, this pawn, and looking to do something like that. Um, that's one way to play it, but again, it's kind of it's what's known as a theoretical nightmare. Basically, whatever your opponent does is it should really impact how you play it, which as a beginner and just don't have that depth of theory is why I shouldn't play it because, and you'll see here, I play this wrong. So unbelievably standard stuff. Knight c3, knight c6. Again, this is the Sicilian, this is the closed Sicilian, the traditional line, as I'm reading here along with you. But again, just what each move kind of branches it into a different kind of fractal of the Sicilian defense. And I think immediately, I think this move here, I already play it wrong. So e6 is an accuracy. I should have actually gone d4 straight away, which uh, it does look like it's kind of seems like some sort of a gambit whereby this pawn looks like a little bit for free. Um, but I believe there's some interesting ideas then if you put the knight there. A little bit beyond me, beside the point. Again, pretty standard. It's not devastatingly bad. We're still sort of in the mix, and you'll see here White didn't actually capitalize on me misplaying that. They should have taken control of the center with this d pawn, and just caused basically put me on the back foot straight away. They didn't. They were, I think, potentially conscious of me sinking this knight in here, which would have maybe brought some defense back there. Also attack this square. So maybe a little bit preemptively. I hadn't seen that move. They played this move, which is fine. From there, I finally do find a good move, which is d5, taking a nice bit of initiative in the center. I've supported it here. I have blocked in my light square bishop a little bit, but in general, pretty rock solid in the middle here. They push, which closes up the position even more. Apparently, they should have taken. This actually puts me slightly on the front foot. But again, it's all marginal, and at this stage, you'll see this swings and roundabouts very, very wildly from side to side. So I won't dwell too much on each of these moves. Bishop out, that's just a developing move. Apparently, I should have been conscious of either this bishop fork or potentially this or bishop pin of my knight, sinking that in there, protected by the knight here, which I wasn't, and they actually play that, but again, also they are sort of neglecting the center a little bit by not getting that deep on it. But anyway, this pin, which if you've seen some of my streams, I actually have fallen and fell to this pin 6 or 7 times, probably because I played the Sicilian so poorly. But it's one that I hate. It's one that I always just kind of struggle to cope with. So I tried to kick it out. I tried to just get it away straight away. Apparently I should have just been pushing. That's fine. Bishop takes, which I'm kind of glad of. I know it says it's the best for white, but just in terms of how my brain works, getting that pin resolved early rather than maybe having it linger or just put me out of position was a little easier for me to think of. And it also starts to see something forming here in the middle of the board, which I think you might be able to guess what the remnants or the infancy of what's being built here. A monolith, if you will. So we continue on. I think just a couple of developing moves. This is something I noticed when I went through it the first time. So when I play, well, I can't remember what move it is I play. It doesn't matter. But essentially, there was a time when this knight move was plenty fine, and it was when this d pawn was still back here. But because that d pawn has been pushed, this knight move is actually, I think it's very bad. It's an inaccuracy. I think at my level it could have been pretty fatal, because it gives this bishop a clean look at the knight, which this bishop completely undeveloped as yet, but could very easily do a trade-off that massively benefits white, insofar as comes crashing through here, takes the knight. I kind of have to take back. I don't want to just lose that, but I'll have to take back with this pawn. So that would mean essentially ending any hopes I had of castling this side, or if I did castle this side, just wildly exposed. So again, and that was very much in my plan, so it was not a good move. Thankfully, the level we play at, these kind of mistakes can go unpunished, and it did this time. Actually, twice. So they just a weird developing move here, just trying to keep me out of that square. I castle now, again, just didn't see this. Just did not see that bishop eyeing up my knight. But again, get away with it again. They actually they move the right piece, bishop to d2, just a developing move. But I guess probably just didn't see it. I think if they saw it, they would know that that is a pretty crushing move, or just absolutely wrecks my system, my structure there. Finally, I managed to find a good move, which not too many of those left in this game, but get the knight out of there, get him towards the center, well protected. If this pawn comes up to push, again, I've got some escape squares here that are defended, and that would be sort of wrecking their kingside defense if they did choose to castle this side, which it looks like they're eyeing up to do. So happy enough, that's resolved. And after that, despite my kind of sloppy play thus far, my opponent has been equally as sloppy. So we're kind of even at this stage. Actually, the engine has us exactly even, which is fair. There's no material advantage either way, and we're both kind of developed, but not looking too menacing as yet. They've got very strong knights, which I definitely would need to be careful of. Queen move, just a little slow, but what they do is they kind of reinforce this diagonal again, looking for some pretty menacing stuff coming over to my king side here. So not a bad move, probably one I would have made as well, but apparently just getting the knights to hit this bishop and just kind of threaten advancing in here would have been better. So knight comes up, and again, apparently a good move. Knight d4 is best. I think this engine, I don't have the premium version of chess, so the engine can be a little bit funny sometimes. It might say this is the best move when something else is the case. But knight d4 apparently looks a little bit stronger than queen c7, and it seems to be suggesting both of them, but both are good. And knight takes here, and now we see the next little moment. So it's a very slow build up to pure creation. But again, it's a trade-off, and I get to capture towards the center. I mean, I'm undoubling these pawns, which is great, but I'm just doubling these ones. And to be honest, I'd rather some supported doubled pawns in the middle of the board than some wing ones. So anyway, and I need to take back. Anyway, I need to take back the knight. So we're starting to see something that looks a little familiar here from maybe our health education classes, but nothing, just a passing thought at this stage. Again, taking towards the center, actually the best move there. Knight comes back, starts hitting this undefended pawn here, and just getting itself out of trouble, so a good move. And yeah, just backing it up, just making sure that we got a really solid core. And already this is kind of just a huge glut of pawns in the middle of the board for me. They are doubled, but like everything's pretty safe. They're not in a huge rush anywhere. One of the main drawbacks of double pawns is that it's kind of said that they're not, they cease being two pawns and start being one pawn twice. If that, it's just a kind of a quirky little phrase. Don't know if anyone says that, but essentially it's just they get in each other's way and slow each other down. But they're not going anywhere, and they're just controlling these four squares very rigidly. So really, really strong. This one too, and here as well. So actually a really strong setup here. G3, not a great move, weakens the king side, doesn't really do a huge amount. Probably prepping for something like that, or I actually don't know. That actually also seems bad. I don't know. But yeah, it's again probably a move I would have made were I in their position, just out of not knowing what to do. F6 comes up. This is what's known as a pawn break, basically kind of offering some tension here with a supported pawn. Always a good strategy, just kind of open up the game, and I don't have any knights left, but I've got both bishops, so I do want a lot of open, clean lines, despite this just clump of pawns in the middle. So pawn break, I offer up a trade here. And they don't take, apparently they should have, just to maybe break up some of that dominance, but it just gives me the opportunity to lock this in. And now we're really starting to get close. This video is going to be filled with innuendo, by the way. It already is. But that's why you're here, you dirty, dirty chess fans. Alright, next move, so F takes on E5, that's fine. Again, even stronger now in the middle, just crazy control over all of these squares, and these two, as well as these two. So, there's probably some ways to, better players might be able to get themselves out of this, but at this level, this is just shutting down everything that they're going to want to do with their knight. Like even pawns, they might just have to sacrifice one. Maybe that probably was the way out, just break this up. But they didn't. They didn't. Knight comes out, just gets out of there, just senses this weird power, this weird force coming from the middle of the board, and just says, "Not for me, mate. I'll see you later. I'm going to head back to my original square. Let's play a new game." It is a mistake. It's a very passive move, and doesn't really do anything. Gives the knight a new channel to run into, but that one is actually does give me a pretty significant upper hand, board wise. So again, e4 just sort of really putting the squeeze on with these pawns in the middle. Have absolute dominance in here, so why not just sort of throw that weight around, that girth, if you will. Again, they don't take. They decide not to break up the union, and we're very, very close now. We are right on the edge of greatness here. It could have been stopped. It could have been prevented, but I feel that the chess god was working through both of us that day in terms of the moves that they made aware to us. And then this move happens. Again, not an accuracy. The c5, or sorry, c takes on d3 would have been best. Again, this bishop attack is pretty toothless. It's just an offer of a trade. And then we lock it in. And there it is. Let's just bask in it a moment. It is the pawn Willy. It could not be better placed in the board. It is just so massive, so thick and long. 3 pawns, tripled pawns, garbage structure in normal circumstances. But in the middle of the board like this, flanked by the 2 bollockses here, don't know if you can say that on YouTube, just did. But it actually is just very, very powerful. We are really, really strong up. We're 5.5 points ahead. I think those are called points. We're way ahead. The engine is basically like, this is Black's game to lose, and I can see why. The engine just doesn't even know what to do. It's just like, oh well, is that mate? Is it mate? Maybe. It's not mate. There are hundreds of moves that the white pieces can make, but admirably, my opponent did not resign when faced with the pawn Willy right in the middle of the board, threatening some really menacing stuff here. And they find the best response, and the best response is the Circumcision Defense, just chopping off the top of the pawn Willy there, sort of negating it, getting a little bit of play in the center, also opening up this file for the queen, potentially for later on. Again, this is all defended right now, but it's a good square for the queen to be on. But that was it. That was the pawn Willy, and the game kind of continues on from here, and it goes a bit wild. But the Circumcision Defense, they did well to find that. As it was, I was just about to finish them off with the pawn Willy. We play on for a little bit here. I think at this stage, I play really badly again. So after a moment's divinity, clarity comes rushing back to me, and my normal chess brain is installed rather than the Lord's. And as a result, you'll see some moves here that will just make your skin crawl. Again, I mentioned earlier on, I would play that pawn move were I in a position to. I was, and I did, and it's bad. But I hold absolutely no sense of superiority against my opponent. I was gifted the pawn Willy that helped me eventually win this game, which you'll see. But I think we were pretty similar in terms of our styles. Queen takes, again, right bollock is completely gone. The pawn Willy has done its damage psychologically and positionally. Just had too much time to exert its force over the center of the board. At this stage, again, with the pawn Willy disrupted, similar to Germany after the fall of the Berlin Wall, a little bit rudderless for a while. Just don't know what to do after that. Is this game still going on? Who cares? And we see a blunder there that potentially could have cost us pretty dearly if they found queen takes on this square, which is d5. Queen takes there with check right in the middle of the board, just really menacing. And of course the bottom of the shaft being decimated. So there's some very weird genitalia left. They do find us, and at this stage actually white does turn it around for a bit. That's not a great move either. So they are winning at this stage. They find this move, which is a nice little check there. They should have moved here because this would have been check. The main one of the only ways to block that would have been here, which would have left the queen here to take this rook, which is now on its own. Or if they don't do that, then again, some really nasty stuff getting threatened by rook in here. They didn't find that move, but they did make this move, which is, again, still winning for white. I just get almost the only thing I can do, which is rook to f7. Now, at this stage, white does have a move that would have been absolutely crushing. I don't think people at the level that I play at would find this, but it might be pretty obvious to some stronger players out there. But it's actually this move. So rook takes on h7 because it wins the pawn. Because what will happen is king takes and then queen takes this rook. So they're up a pawn. This pawn is the difference between that exchange. But what happens is queen takes with check. King is here. This rook can kind of come into the game. It's not. There's still a game that would go on after it, but that would really just sort of blow up any kind of aspirations black had to win this game. If they found this move, rook takes on h7. Very difficult move to find, I think, for this level. I certainly wouldn't have found it. Again, good players would find that one. They didn't. They played this move, which sort of just kind of slows them down a little. Not a huge. There's a threat here on this rook, which I think is what they were going for. Also here, so. But it's pretty easily defended by there, connecting the rooks and still defending this piece. Wasn't the best move because this queen here would have sort of counterattacked their rook as well, and yeah, that apparently would have been better. And then at this stage, sort of in the afterglow of being granted the pawn, Willy, I just have a couple of moments clarity, and I say, look, we have it's a very even game at this stage, but positionally we're much better. Our pieces are a lot more active. This rook is garbage. It's going to be like, unless the threat is viable down this file, which it kind of has ceased to be, this rook is 2 moves away from being a good piece again. Whereas this rook is quite strong, already just sort of threatening along this open file, has connection across the board. So I'm thinking, and I did think this at the time, remember, if we can reduce down, then we will probably have the stronger of it in the endgame. So queen moves back there. There was, again, some ideas they could have played with there. But this one actually gives me the opportunity to force trades. And again, we're in a better position. And if I end up in the endgame with a better position, those, like the marginal positional gains that I have now, will ultimately stand me in much better stead. If there's fewer pieces, each piece becomes more important. So a better placed piece is going to be worth way more. So this move here, which is a mistake, is my idea being that it forces a trade. King's in check, and also attacking the rook, but this is also defended by the queen, which is how I wanted it to go down. Apparently the machine says don't do that, and instead tells me to go here to, I guess, line up again some very menacing stuff here on that f2 pawn, which I can totally see now, but I don't mind playing this way either. And then also, yes, so this comes with check, which is a pretty crucial element. And thankfully for me, the simplification was, again, just made straight away there with their queen trade, offering a queen trade. Again, theoretically or kind of best practices, if I'm attacking, don't trade queens. Generally, trading is quite a defensive maneuver. If you're being attacked and those pieces leave the board, you're not being attacked anymore. But I don't know, again, for my brain, I think I just wanted to keep it more simplistic. So I traded queens, king takes, and then immediately we see this rook, absolute rock star, cruising around the board, open lines all the way, coming in at the back of my opponent's pawns, which is, again, devastating, very hard to defend, getting chased from behind, rather than obviously in front where pawns attack. And then this rook sort of struggling to do anything of note here. Maybe here. It's really trapped in here. They're like maybe here offer a trade, but then I just respond with this. Um, so as we drew it up, it happened that the reduction with I had a much better rook left me in a much better position. I mean, we kind of just mop up from here. We just chase pawns around the board, just cruise them up. That's a blunder. This is a blunder because we could have won the rook here. So in trying to activate this rook, brings it back to h1. And then if I go here, that is I don't know, is that a pin if it's the king? Anyway, king has to move, rook completely undefended, can't get a defender across in time. And then game over. Doesn't really impact it. Again, I see that we have way more material on the board in terms of pawns, and I can force a trade here. So just winning simply rather than winning as quickly as possible, which I think is you're supposed to try and win as quickly as possible, just in case something you don't predict happens. But I tried to just make that less likely. So we just start legging pawns down the board. White doesn't have anything to stop me. And actually, when I get here to h2, just about to promote, absolutely nothing white can do to stop me. My opponent resigned. And again, admirable to stay so long against the pawn Willy. But let's just zoom right back to see it in all its glory. I mean, really, after it happens, the game is moot. There's no way, even with the better position, white can't overcome a blow like this. Of just this absolute majesty, just cannot be stopped. Bush, 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 bush. We're attacking. Bush, 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 bush. We're attacking here. We're attacking here and here. Here too. Here too. Just all over. It's a mess. It's a real mess. Just right up in their grill here. And then my opponent did find the Circumcision Defense, which, again, just a stroke of beauty. A real stroke of beauty. So that was it. That was my Pawn Willy game. I will never play a better game of chess long as I live, even if I play a perfect game, if I beat Magnus Carlsen eventually. It won't come near that. So I've peaked, and so have you now that you've seen it. Your life is going to sort of peter out from here. Apologies. But I hope you enjoyed it. If you are interested in learning a bit more about chess at this level, so there's tons of stuff to watch good people play chess. But if you want to have a bit of crack and kind of learn chess along with me, hope to see, maybe I'll improve a little bit, maybe I won't. But we have a good time. It's every Tuesdays at 8 o'clock. Chess, please. Smash that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment. Any feedback. Please do let me know. But I hope you've enjoyed it. And then again, if you are big into chess, I'm sorry if I said something that wasn't right. I'm just trying, man. I don't know how to play chess. It's so hard. But that's going to be all from me, folks. See you on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Take it easy. Chess, please.